know we don't have a river to dunk you in, but we cleaned out the muck sink, and, yeah, you might just want to take off your shirt.
Okay, nope. See, I can't do this. I'm sorry. I really want us to get along. I do, but I can't pretend to believe in something I don't. And I don't.
Chapman, we've all had our doubts.
No, see, this isn't doubts. I believe in science. I believe in evolution. I believe in Nate Silver and Neil deGrasse Tyson and Christopher Hitchens, although I do admit he could be kind of an asshole. I cannot get behind some supreme being who weighs in on the Tony Awards while 1 million people get whacked with machetes. I don't believe 1 billion Indians are going to hell. I don't think we get cancer to learn life lessons. And I don't believe that people die young because God needs another angel. I think it's just bullshit. And on some level, I think we all know that. I mean, don't you?
The angel thing does seem kind of desperate.
Thought you was a Christian.
I am, but I got some questions.
Look, I understand that religion makes it easier to deal with all of the random, shitty things that happen to us. And I wish I could get on that ride. I'm sure I would be happier. But I can't. Feelings aren't enough. I need it to be real. I gotta go.
I tried to be your friend.
I hope he makes you very happy.
Agree or disagree, this scene touches on a layered discussion with implications for public policy going back decades, if not centuries, as we'll see later. In recent news, there's a report of violence from an apparent atheist in what has been labeled as a hate crime. The Chapel Hill incident may prove to be more of a personal dispute, but this violent aberration makes the following discussion on the necessity for godly morality all the more pressing, in light of the reports that the suspect was an atheist. Consider the preceding clip. There's something unusual about this picture. We'll revisit it later in this video. Here, we'll explore the relationships between morality, crime, incarceration, and religious belief. It's almost a cliche among the incarcerated. I found Jesus, and all my criminal ways are behind me. It seems like such a simple formula. Just get all criminals to believe in Jesus, and problem solved. Why, we wouldn't even need jails at all. This is not a new belief. Others have maintained similar doctrines. Consider this pearl of wisdom. It is divine instruction only which bestows wisdom, and of what efficacy the law of God is. Give me a man who is passionate, scurrilous, and unrestrained, and with a very few words of God, I will render him as gentle as a sheep. The author of this little gem was a Christian named Lactantius, an early church father. Early as in from the 3rd century in the Common Era. For over 17 centuries, and probably before that, we've had this idea that Christian claims of God's fiery, tough love can and should totally reform all wrongdoers. So let's examine Christian claims that belief in their particular faith is somehow indispensable to human morality. Other atheists have addressed this topic before, but in the course of this video series, we'll also attempt to tackle the issue of why. Do the methods of Lactantius and other church fathers, sizzling with alleged hellfire, measure up to the claim? In the digital age, we have many tools to examine whether Christian beliefs will make criminals as gentle as a 3rd century sheep. But society would destroy itself without the belief in heaven and hell, wouldn't it? It would be unsustainable anarchy. So we've just got to have God to tell us right from wrong. Don't we? Don't we? Well, maybe not so much. Here's some stats that have been bouncing around for a while. courtesy of the Federal Bureau of Prisons, pertaining to the religious affiliation of violent offenders. And sure enough, Catholics are the most felony-prone, followed closely by Protestants. Perhaps understandable, given that they represent a majority of the population. And there, near the bottom, lies the atheist, at barely 10% of the population nationally. Yet not even 1% of violent crimes are committed by professed atheists. Well, that may be true, a believer might say, but perhaps it would be even worse without religion. Without religious limits on our behaviors, is it possible that the troubles of society could be more harrowing than they already are? There are some Christians who would agree. This appears to be the tacit assumption here exemplified in the Left Behind series, in which those who believe in the right God and the right way find themselves raptured and no, not this rapture. The Christian rapture as expressed in the Left Behind series. After everyone who believes correctly in the right God is whisked away, the now godless world explodes into violent savagery, ripe for Antichrist control.
Let's just say you go out with a gun and you just rape a bunch of people, then you just shoot yourself. What's going to be the punishment for you?
This, according to Christian wisdom, is the fate that awaits us in a world without the fear of eternal torment for wrongdoing. So, let's take a look at societies here on earth today, trapped in the clutches of godlessness. Let us bear witness to the manifest horrors of this unholy hellscape, rife with war and villainy, and pity the inhabitants of Europe? Apparently so. So if godlessness leads to chaos, then we would have self-destructing societies in the Scandinavian countries and much of Western Europe. The reality is the exact opposite. These countries have higher standards of living on average and less crime. At least if you trust those hacks at the United Nations Office of Drugs and Crime. The numbers show that European averages of violent crimes, specifically murder, per 100,000 people run about 1/5 the rate of our own US of A. But it's not the Europeans have magical powers of peace and goodness. You see a similar pattern, but intensified in Japan. They are even less violent than Scandinavians aren't. And they appear to have an even higher rate of godlessness. The true causes are complex, but the lack of belief in a God alone is not a predictor of crime, more like the opposite. We'll delve deeper in the next installment, but it's clear that we need to progress beyond the Iron Age superstitions of Lactantius and his simplistic blusterings. Speaking of progress, I was deceptive before. Those stats from the Bureau of Prisons have been updated as well. The most recent report, courtesy of the Friendly Atheist, show an even lower fraction of incarceration among atheists than the report from the 1990s. The paltry numbers of atheists that are actually incarcerated works out to less than 0.1%. But of course there are thousands upon thousands of mainline Protestants, Catholics, and Muslims who have been incarcerated. So that brings us back to the show from our opening clip. An atheist in prison certainly has a tough road to hoe, if you can find one. There are a few. But Christian superstitious prejudice does not change the fact that our prisons are overflowing with God believers, with good reason.
I'm gonna have to kill him. I'm gonna have to kill him. I'm gonna have to kill him.